Hello, hello! Today I decided that in spirit of Spooky Month, I would talk about one of the most horrifying yet common things us artists face throughout our journeys. The dreaded art block. I've unfortunately been facing a bit of a creative funk lately, so I figured I would just talk about some of the things I do to get past that. So please enjoy me talking about my go-tos for getting over art block. I'm sure art block is a term you've heard before, especially if you're an artist or if you're close to one, but just in case you don't know what it is, art block is essentially what happens to an artist when they run short on creative juices, their motivation is low, and ideas just aren't coming easily. And unfortunately, every artist goes through this at some point or another, and it really tends to bring us down. For an artist, creating is something so intrinsically important to who we are, and most of us genuinely can't imagine living without it. So when our brain suddenly decides that it won't or can't create, it just really sucks. So I try to avoid it as much as I can. And I've gotten pretty good at preventing and working through art block over the years, so I'm just going to share some of the things that work for me when art block decides to rear its ugly head in my direction. And hopefully it'll actually help you guys in some way. Tip number 1, redraw your old art. If you've followed me for a while, you've probably heard me say this before, but redrawing your old art is a fantastic way of both tracking your improvement and getting over art block. So when I notice that I'm feeling a lot more negative about my results, or I feel less enjoyment or motivation when it comes to drawing, my knee-jerk reaction is to just redraw an old piece of art, because it's the most effective way I've found over the years that gets me out of that rut. And it works so well because there's basically a guarantee that you'll improve the more you draw. Especially if you're like me and you're drawing regularly to semi-regularly. You're going to become more comfortable and skillful in drawing just naturally over time. The problem is that it's really hard to spot improvement in your work because improvement is so slow. But even if it's hard to see that improvement, it's still there. And that's why redrawing your old art is such an effective way of getting over art block. Because it essentially forces you to look directly at your improvement by way of direct comparison. You can't miss your growth because it's right in front of you. And being able to see how much you've improved as an artist, and that your time and hard work has paid off, it's incredibly validating. It feels good to know that you're doing well, that you're growing. And the best part is that it's really fun. So just go redraw your old art, guys. It's a wonderful exercise, and it is my favorite tip in this entire video. Tip number 2, take a break. This is one of my top go-tos for art block. And I stress this one so hard because when I was a beginner, I hated the idea of taking a break, and I refused to do it unless I absolutely had to. And it's because whenever I got art block, I was so convinced that if I stopped drawing and I took a break, I would never pick up a pencil again. So when art block hit, I would try stubbornly powering through, forcing myself to draw every day until it passed. And I'll admit, this worked maybe once or twice. But more times than not, I would start getting really negative and stressed about art in general, I would burn myself out, and then I would take a massive break from drawing anyway. So unfortunately, I learned the hard way that refusing to take a break can actually be a pretty big detriment to any creative endeavors. And I really don't want anyone watching to make the same mistakes as I have, so I just wanted to share my experience. Because I get it. I get why taking a break might stress you out. I mean, it stressed me out like crazy when I was a beginner. So, I don't know if any of you really need to hear this, but I wanted to make it very clear. Taking a break will do you no harm. You're not a failure because you need to take some time off, and you're going to pick up that drawing utensil again despite your worries that you might not. You just need a second to rest your brain, and there's nothing wrong with that. So please, just don't force your way through art block and just take breaks. I know it's really hard, especially since a lot of us artists are workaholics, and there's a lot of online pressure to pump out pieces like a mad lad, but they're so important, especially if you're in the midst of an art block. And it's not like this break has to be super long either. Just take some time to do the things you enjoy that aren't creating. Watching a show you like, or starting a new one, playing video games, reading a book, or fan fiction. Go do something with friends, play some board games, exercise, do whatever. Just try to take your brain away from art for a while, so that when you come back, you can have a completely fresh brain to work with. One that isn't muddied up with negativity about your art or frustration about the blog. The goal here is to come back refreshed and ready to try again. Tip number 3, do some art studies. This one is especially effective if your block is being caused by your own perfectionism or a lack of confidence when drawing something specific. It'll usually hit when you're working on something and you find that you don't have the skill necessary to do it effectively or to your standards. Like, let's say you have an idea for a really cool drawing, something with lots of movement, it's super dynamic and awesome, and you can see it so clearly in your head. But then you go to draw it, and it's so hard to take that super awesome idea from your head and put it onto the canvas. No matter what you try to adjust or change, your drawing just isn't living up to your brain's expectations. And you were so excited about this, so it really bums you out that your skill isn't there yet. And just like that, you've been hit with art block. When this specific breed of art block hits, art studies can be a saving grace. You're sad you can't draw something, so you seek out a source to learn so you can draw that thing. There's many methods you could choose to study here, but the most common ways to do an art study are to find and follow tutorials, register for an online class, collect references and draw directly from them, or find an artist you like and try to break down how they do the thing you are trying to do. And these studies can be on basically anything you want to work on, from basic things such as anatomy, rendering, backgrounds, to things that are more specific, like hands, angled faces, cats, everyday objects, or clothing. However, I would highly recommend taking a look at studying the fundamentals and basics before anything else, especially if you're a beginner artist. Because a lot of the time, it's a lack of understanding of things like shape, color, shading, and value, and stuff like that leads to a lot of the struggles that early artists have. Just having a well-rounded, good understanding of those fundamentals will never hurt you. And it'll probably help you a lot with the problem of getting your idea out of your brain and onto the page. Tip number 4, indulge yourself. By which I mean draw what you're good at drawing and what you like, what you're comfy drawing, or something that's easy. This could be some doodles, fan art of a character you like, your favorite OCs, and maybe some of your favorite food. Or if you find that coming up with things to draw is stressful, just draw what's in front of you. Look around and draw anything you see. Turn your brain off for a bit and just draw your surroundings. And don't pay attention to how good or bad it looks. Allow yourself to be messy and experimental and all over the place. Because the point here isn't to make something that's incredible. The point is to just make something and enjoy making it. Relax and enjoy the process. Don't focus so hard on the results. And optimize your comfiness too. Go get like a soft blanket and some snacks, maybe a warm drink. Go to a place you're comfortable. Maybe watch a show or listen to some music that you like. Just stuff like that. Just really let yourself go. Let yourself relax. And then just draw. And maybe those little doodles and loose sketches won't turn into anything. Or maybe later you'll want to turn them into something you put more time into. But that doesn't matter. What matters is you made something, no matter how small or how simple. And it wasn't a task or something that needed to be done, but something that you did for yourself. Something you did to indulge in the craft. And just giving yourself a moment to draw without needing it, but just because you want to, and doing it in a comfortable, calm environment can do wonders for your headspace around art. It reminds you to step back and just take a breather, which honestly, we need as artists in the modern day. Because social media algorithms cater to those who post frequently and consistently, so it's so easy to fall into this grind mindset of go, 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 draw this, draw that, draw till you drop. And we can end up misplacing our passion and appreciation for the process in an attempt to match the fast pace of the online world. But personally, taking little moments here and there to draw for myself instead of drawing productively for my social media or even for a YouTube video always helps recenter me, and it reminds me of my passion for the process of creating. So I honestly highly recommend giving this a shot. Indulge yourself, create for you. Don't do it for anything or anyone else. Just sit down and make something for you. Tip number 5, drawing from prompts. This one feels especially relevant with Inktober going on right now, but it's something that genuinely helps me sometimes. If I have no idea what to draw, it can be super helpful to find some prompts. And there is no short supply on prompt lists either. Just search up drawing prompt lists on Google or Pinterest, and you're probably gonna find quite a few. And if you want something more physical, you can probably find one of those drawing prompt books at the store pretty easily too. So there's plenty of prompts around, and it's fairly easy to find them. Really, drawing from prompts is just generally helpful though. It removes that overwhelming feeling of not knowing what to draw because it prompts you to draw something and hopefully gives you an idea or two. And I know some prompts aren't very straightforward, but there's also no pressure to do every single prompt. So if one's stressing you out, you can just skip it. Or if you feel like it, you can even use it as an excuse to think outside the box and try something new. And that's one of the reasons that it's really fun, because they encourage you to step outside that box. They encourage you to leave your comfort zone and try something new. However, hands down, the most important thing that drawing from prompts can do is give you inspiration. In a period of art block where ideas and inspiration are lacking and you feel stuck on a blank page, prompts can spark an idea and help you get something onto that page. So personally, I find that they're very helpful. Tip number 6, write all of your ideas down. This one is more of a preventative measure to take against art block, but I think it's important. Ideas come and go on the fly. They come when you're at work, when you're in the shower, on a walk, doing homework, hanging with friends, and they just pop into your brain at random. And if you don't write them down, you're probably gonna forget about it unless it was something you were super excited for and just couldn't get out of your head. But most ideas don't have that kind of impact. They're just passing thoughts that could be an idea. And that's why it's important to write them down. Even if they aren't necessarily what you'd consider a good idea, just jot it down anyway. Because you might come back to it later and realize it actually was a great idea. Or if it actually wasn't, your brain could potentially come up with something based off of that. Because really, you never know what could spark an idea, so you might as well write it down just in case. There's genuinely no harm to it. A little tip though, I try to make sure you write them all in the same place, because then you don't have to worry about scrambling to find it when you remember it exists, or simply losing it and forgetting it existed anyway. And personally, what I do is I put all my ideas on my phone. It's something I know I'm going to have either on me or nearby 99% of the time, so I'll just use the basic Notes app. And anytime an idea comes to my head, whether that be random art ideas, stuff for my comic, potential YouTube videos, a character design idea, just really anything, it goes there, right in my Notes tab. And this is just overall really helpful because especially when I'm struggling to figure out what I want to draw, I just have this list pre-made in my Notes app, ready to be accessed the second I need it. So I highly recommend just keeping track of those ideas in an easy to find list. You never know when you'll need them or when they'll help you out. And that was the last tip on my list, so I hope you enjoyed and I hope that this was at least somewhat helpful. I understand that these are simply things that work for me, and they won't necessarily work for everyone, but I really do hope that I managed to help at least one of you with your art block, because as I established, it sucks. So for those struggling with art block right now, just know that eventually your urge to make something will outweigh your brain's battle to make you stop creating. It'll pass. Sometimes it takes a really, really long time, but it will pass, I promise you. And I wish you luck in getting past this hurdle, and I wish you luck with all of your future endeavors afterwards. And thank you so much for watching this all the way through. I genuinely hope that it had some semblance of good advice for you guys. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up here, so I hope you all have a great day. Bye bye now.